Women have no reason to fear anything nowadays, except for one thing. And that one thing is the reason we have a bubble-wrapped society. That one thing is why we twist ourselves into pretzels in order to protect her from it. And in a way, it's crippling her when we do it. Women are absolutely terrified of failure. And we as men completely deny them the privilege of doing so, and this does more harm than good. I'm gonna make a brine chicken recipe, and let's have a coffee and wait for it to finish. The recipe for this is in a previous video, so watch till the end and I'll have a link for you to make it for yourself. You know what? It's protein, and since you probably don't know how to cook, it's easy and it tastes pretty good. Anybody who studies some basic level psychology or listens to Jordan Peterson on YouTube, never mind they kind of understand a bit of a bit, couldn't tell you what he said when you ask 5 minutes later. The point is, interest is there. And it's a segue into one of the basic differences between the genders. If you've not heard about it, it's the big five. There's extroversion, agreeableness, openness, conscientiousness, and eroticism. Now, there may be more, the science is out on that, but these five are understood with relative confidence. In this case here, I'm focused on the two. Women are generally more agreeable, and they're more neurotic. And it makes sense. I mean, back in caveman days, women didn't have good cudgel-swinging shoulders, so instead they tried very hard to fit in with the strongest cave dudes they could find. They learned to get along with Cave Brian, Cave Brian's girlfriend Cave Cindy, and they hooked her up with Cave Stanley. Women had to be very good at avoiding conflict, very good at avoiding confrontation, and developed, over time, a sensitivity to anything that could be seen as nagging, aggressive personality traits. I mean, thankfully we have civilized ourselves past such crude things. But we kind of haven't. Because you can see the signs. Most girls are picking majors that reflect the same traits and preferences in college. They like working with people, they're very agreeable. They generally like positions without conflict. They like taking the first salary offer thrown at them and not negotiating for anything better. But don't take my word for it. Even Peterson, in his clinical psychology capacity, talks about it often. Most of the salaried women who hired him were learning how to mute their instincts better and thrive in a modern workplace. And good on them. And still, women are terrified of failure. And we, the thirsty men of society, coddle that. I mean, when Stacy was 5, she cried and Dad took it easy on her and fixed her problems. When Stacy was 15, she used those magic words, woman problems, and the teacher got her out of the class when the test was hard and she'd rather hang out somewhere else. When Stacy was 25, she cried how her new boyfriend dumped her, and Ted sat there and sponged up all that crying and venting for hours and assuring her it wasn't her fault. When Stacy was 35 and she divorces Ted because he was boring, we decided that she needs to get paid to take the kids. She's strong, she's independent, she doesn't need no man. And then when Stacy's 45, she gets to nag everyone to ban porn, and nobody tells her to shut up, even though it's an impossible task. She was afraid of failure when she was 5. No one told her anything different. Now she's a middle-aged soccer mom, neurotic and afraid, absolutely everything. Here's the part now where it affects you. If you're that guy who's telling that girl that you aren't a sexual man like that jerk who jumped her last week, you're putting failure into her court. Why would she bother thinking or believing that maybe you might be a good guy to date? If you say no to her, that's failure. She'd rather just go back to that jerk because at least he takes responsibility for being a sexual person. And, by extension, the failure of it if something happens. If you're angry that your girlfriend hasn't put out in 5 weeks and then decide that you're going to teach her a lesson by never initiating, you're putting the responsibility of a healthy relationship onto her. And by extension, any failure. She's terrified on that. And she's going to continue this sexual Cold War. And you'll continue to see because she's not being responsible for failure. A girl, terrified of failure, will stonewall you. She will rather stonewall you than do anything that even has the slightest potential possibility for maybe even a little failure. She will tell little white lies. She'll pretend that something else is going on. She'll shame you for even asking. She will swear up and down whatever she has to say or do to avoid that gauntlet of failure. But it's just about playing Smash Brothers with my friends. Yeah. Your 1 out of 10 scenario is her 10 out of 10 nightmare. So unless she knows it well, and she knows it's within her abilities, she's not going to try it. And you probably think, yeah, you understand this. You maybe even told other people that you understand this before. But I guarantee you, way too many of you guys don't understand this. Not nearly well enough. For example, have you ever complained that your girlfriend doesn't initiate sexy times with you enough? Then you don't get it. Have you ever said that it would be great if a woman ever hit on you instead of you always being the one to have to chat them up? Then you don't get it. Have you ever said that going to be a man going your own way and that women will realize that all the good men are gone and straighten up and act right? Well then, you just don't get it. Have you ever complained that your woman convinced you to stop doing something that was outside her comfort zone because she was uncomfortable? Then you don't get it. Have you ever complained when you ask her where she wants to grab dinner and she doesn't give you an answer? Well, then you just don't get it. Do you want to know why? Do you want to know why women just wants a guy who gets it? It's because they are absolutely terrified of having to get it themselves. So is this the kind of advice that's going to get you a girl for a night, get you a girlfriend for a year, get you a relationship for 10 years, get you a family? Probably not. But if you can't even walk up to a girl and take on whatever responsibility and failure is out there, well then you're going to be waiting a long time, because I guarantee you, even if that girl is into you, even if she thinks you're the greatest thing that ever happened, she would rather go home alone and cry about it than give any potential possibility that maybe, even just maybe, sorta coulda happened. No chance in hell is she going to do anything when there's that threat of failure looming ahead of her. So if you don't take the initiative, if you don't do your burden of performance, then it's pretty much dead on arrival. So to put a cap on this, realize that every thirsty douche before you has coddled almost every single woman since Cave Stacy. And they are hardwired to this stuff. Girls are terrified of failure. Whatever you think that means, amplify it. And granted, anytime anybody brings this up, there's always that one woman who chimes in saying this doesn't apply to her. And you know what? I never disagree. Humans aren't one-dimensional automatons. But here's a question for you, civilized Stacy. Ask yourself, when you look around and you see women writ large, not your mom, not your bestie Karen, but that gaggle of Susans from work, that gaggle of Susans at the park or in the mall, when you see them, do you think perhaps that you're not that average girl? Congratulations. You had a dad that gave you a wrench and had you work on the car with him. He added just enough tomboy into you that you're not a neurotic snowflake. Consider yourself lucky, because most women aren't. And for you, the guy who's dating one of those, maybe you married one, maybe you've got a relationship together, maybe even got some kids, you can use this too. Realize that she's terrified of failure, so when you give these tasks, as long as you're able to parse it up into more bite-sized chunks, you're going to find a lot of women are way better suited towards stepping up and doing extra, or doing their, womanly duties, for lack of a better word. And you're going to see a lot better result than when you put the onus on something onto a girl and then have her screw it up just so you never give her that responsibility again. On that note, thanks guys. I'm gonna finish this coffee, eat some chicken. Think about the end card now. Yeah, there's the recipe up there. Take care, guys. Cheers.